what the heck's the difference between local SEO and SEO? It's just local. It's focusing here on my town, my backyard, wherever my business is located. This is Local SEO Tactics, where each week we bring you tips and tricks to help you get found online. This week we got a pretty good episode for you. It's kind of a roundup, focused on local SEO, just a bunch of different tips and tricks that we've talked about through various episodes and a few new ones, all focused on how to get found locally for your business and just kind of, where you should get started with. So check out the show notes on this one. It's really action-packed. I mentioned that in the episode here as well, but definitely check that out. We got a bunch of links from previous episodes, the different resources, really going to help you guys out, and let us know what you think. So check it out. Here we go. Hey everyone, wanted to talk to you real quick about our instant SEO audit. If you haven't used it yet, it's online, intrix.com. Up in the top right corner, big yellow button. Click that. You can do a quick instant audit on your SEO, for your website or any web page on your website. Absolutely free. You can use it as many times as you want. A lot of people are using it. They give some great feedback. Shows you a real quick score of kind of what's good, what's bad on your website. It's going to show that instantly on the page. Takes about 15 seconds. When I say instantly, it's about 15 seconds. And then it's also going to email you that in a PDF form to share with your boss, share with your marketing team, save for later, whatever you want to do. So check that out. Super cool. Another good hack a lot of people use it for is to do this on the competition.
Sure.
So compare your own page against theirs, kind of, learn from that. If somebody's outranking you and more dominant, run their site through this tool too. So check it out, intrix.com, top right corner, instant SEO audit. Welcome back to Local SEO Tactics. Jesse Dolan here with Bob Brennan. This week, we're going to be talking about local SEO for small business. We've touched on kind of various elements of SEO, obviously, through pretty much every episode. This week, we're going to kind of round some of those up and just focus on local SEO for small businesses. Most of our listeners out there are small businesses. Some of you that maybe are doing marketing for agencies focus on small businesses, local businesses. So we really kind of want to have like a roundup episode here. So we're going to dive right in. One of the main topics we talk about a lot is Google My Business.
Yep.
Our first couple episodes, I think, of the show were even launched on that, and we kind of come back to that every half dozen or so. It's extremely important. It's always changing. There's always new stuff, and if you're going to be found for local business, you got to be on the GMB, Google My Business. So we'll start with that right there. If you're trying to get found, trying to get local business for your company, you've got to get a GMB. So we'll put some links in our show notes for the first few episodes. We kind of go through how to, set it up, optimize it, and how to use it the best. But we can't stress enough how critical that is if you're wanting to be found. So,
yeah, no, the GMB is obviously just critical. It sounds like a broken record, but specifically for local SEO, it's absolutely critical.
And if people don't know what we're talking about, we should say too, when you do a search, that map pack, right? Yeah. Some people call it the map pack, the snack pack, whatever you want to call it. When you do a regular search on Google, you usually get the top 3 results with a kind of map, interface right there. That's what's going to get you in there. Those are the Google My Business listings. So if you don't have a GMB set up, you have no chance of even being in there, right?
Right.
So,
and we want to go through the tips and the tricks too. It's not enough to quote to be. You need to be in the top 3, but ideally you want to be in the very top position.
Right.
And that top position is almost it's 2-to-1 for the next position, and then it's like 4-to-1 for the third position. And along with that, you got to have, again, hate to go round and round about this, but you need to have good reviews.
Yep.
So it's no good if you're at the top and your reviews are poor, people are going to default to the next one, and then the next one, or whatever the case is. So
we can just transition right into that. There's a few different elements, like you're saying, of the GMB that are extremely important. One of them is getting reviews.
Right.
To Bob's example, if you're in, let's say, even the top spot in that GMB for plumbing or what have you, if the people underneath you have a lot of reviews or a better score or both compared to yours,
right,
it doesn't matter if you're in the top spot. They're not going to call you. They're not going to click on you. So, yeah, have a GMB and definitely make sure you're getting reviews. If you want local business, definitely start in those 2 areas. A couple other quick things you can do, kind of rounding out the whole GMB topic here, is there's the Google My Business posts, and they also have offer posts and promotional posts now. It's a very, very robust offering that they've been rolling out the last couple months. Take advantage of that. Again, we'll throw a link to a previous episode that talks about that in the show notes. A lot of good information there. You're going to want to do that. The thing about those Google My Business posts is they expire in 7 days. So this isn't like a set it and forget it deal, right?
Right.
Some of the information in here is you set up your categories and some other information we're going to talk about. But the posts, they literally expire after 7 days. So once a week, you're going to want to get in there, put up a new post. Doesn't have to be super creative. It's really just take a bullet point off your website, throw up a quick image, to kind of, get some flash and some flare and attract people. And that's just going to take up more real estate in that GMB listing and in that side panel, if you get into the side panel. And it helps for conversion rates. So there's some SEO value, there's some conversion value. It's free, put out by Google. Definitely make sure you're taking advantage of that. And then, as I just mentioned, another area, which is extremely critical for your GMB, is your categories that you're picking.
Yeah.
So there's kind of two different levels of the categories. We've talked about this again before. One is your primary. So you're going to pick, 5 to 7 categories for your business, and just search through it. When you're picking your categories, you can start typing, and Google will kind of give you suggestions on what it thinks it is, and you have to pick from their list. You got to pick one that's the most critical for your business. I think you've given an example before, like coffee grinders or whatever. I mean,
to be real, you got to be real strategic, and that's where you sit down and maybe look at the categories or what have you, but definitely put some thought to it.
Yep. So pick all the ones that apply to you. Go back, like Bob's saying, what is the one? If I could only get found for one, or if one really describes me the best, what is it? Make that your primary, because that's the most high-end signal, if you will, that you're sending to Google for what you do as a business. Everything else kind of falls in under that. So give a lot of credence to that, and you can go change it later too, right? If you're working on it tonight or whatever, and you just kind of get it all filled out, if you want to circle back tomorrow or a few days later and really think about it, you can totally do that. You don't have to get it right on the first shot, but it's worth stating again that the primary category you pick, it's primary for a reason. So make sure you're doing that correctly. And then I would say, just kind of rounding out real quick areas in the GMB, anything in the GMB, take advantage of it, right? But the other main area you definitely want to do is your business description. This is something that used to exist that Google took down, and then they put back up. Use that. I think you get, off the top of my head, is it 750 characters? So it's a fair amount of text that you can put in there for your business description. And that's just, again, going to help for SEO, for conversion, and just kind of taking up more real estate. So do those areas, get your GMB set up, and you're going to be better for it. I should note one more thing for your GMB. This kind of trips people up sometimes. There's kind of two options for the type of location you are in your GMB. You can be a service area or like a storefront, right? And some businesses are both. So the difference there is if you don't go to a customer's location to deliver your products or perform your services, so maybe you're, like auto glass, replacement or repair, or if you're a cell phone repair shop and people come to you, you want to make sure you set that up properly. One's going to show your address, one isn't. If you're a service area business, people don't come to you. Google's not going to show your address to those people, because otherwise they're just going to show up at your house, right? Or at your warehouse or wherever it is. And if you're a service area business, you then tell Google what your service area is, whether it's certain zip codes or certain cities, or if you want to do a radius, within 60 miles of my location. That's important to put in there too. If you don't do that properly, and if you try to kind of game that, you can get your listing suspended. So just pay attention to that part when you're setting it up. That'll be there when you do your address. So
yeah, Google My Business is one of those things too. This is kind of important to understand. Let's say you're just starting out in your business. You have no money. You have very little time. You can essentially roll out a GMB listing, right?
Yep.
And maybe get to the website 30, 60, 90 days later.
Yep.
But you still want to give that as much attention as you can, again, with reviews, everything else. There are businesses out there that hold the top GMB position, and they have no website.
Right.
You click on there's no website.
Yep.
And Bubba was smart enough to, not to pick on Bubba,
yep,
but smart enough to whip up a GMB,
yeah,
and that's all you need to get started.
Yep.
So it's a germ. If you have a germ of an idea for a business, you can get going with a GMB and just see what happens.
Yep.
And then as you create revenue, then back in and build your website against it, and you're good to go.
Yeah, absolutely. That's like I would say, crawl, walk, run.
Yeah.
Right. Don't worry about having all the inventory, all the investments, everything else. Get the idea, get the marketing going, get found. And in some areas, this is a good way to kind of prove out that it's viable or not, right?
Right.
You throw it up there, see if you can get any kind of rankings and exposure. Then you can build it up from there, like you're saying, whether it's the actual digital presence or physical presence or what have you. So check that out. The other one that's kind of parallel to this is the Google My Places. Bing Places.
Bing Places
is what I'm trying to say here. We're not talking about Google anymore. We're talking about Bing. Bing Places is very, very similar to Google. We're not going to get as in depth because it's kind of repeating everything. But go on out there, bing.com. I'll put a link in the show notes for you guys how to get there. Same thing, physical address, digital presence. You don't have to have a website. You can kind of build all that later.
Oh, yeah.
I would say if there's one distinction between the two, outside of course, the volume, right? Google is, depending on the reports that you look at, anywhere from 90%, and I should say for the U.S. market here,
right,
90% to 60%. Kind of depends on the search type and everything else. So reverse that. Bing is anywhere from 10 to 30% of any searches that are happening. So depending on your business, your industry, that's a good amount of customers.
Oh, yeah.
You don't want to ignore that. But aside from that, one thing that's slightly different about Bing versus Google is they're not as tight. And what I mean by that is Google, a few years back, people would really try to spam it saying, like Detroit Trial Lawyers is the name of your business when it's actually, Brennan Law or whatever. That was good for rankings, and that can help you, rank real good for Detroit Trial Lawyers.
Sure.
And people still do that nowadays. But it can get you in trouble with Google. They can suspend your listing, which all you got to do is change your name back. Then it's kind of a cat and mouse game. But with Bing, that's something that people kind of take advantage of a little bit more. They don't have as stringent controls. There isn't as much focus on them. It's kind of back in the day a little bit. PCs had the stigma of getting way more viruses than Macs. Well, yeah. PCs are the bigger target, right? There's way more PCs out there in service than there was Macs. So Macs weren't as much more or less secure, and probably going to get a ton of Mac and PC hate mail now. But the point on that is it was more about the population out there, right? Same is kind of true with Google and Bing right now. Bing, you can kind of game it a little bit more if you want to do that and get a little risky, and you're a little bit under the radar just because there's not as much attention there. Bing is kind of happy to have you,
right?
So
right.
Come on, use their listing, and again, take advantage of it. It's completely free for a business. Both of these, Google My Business and Bing Places, are completely free, and that's how you're going to show up in their map packs for both of those respectively. So
here's a strategy off the cuff. I mean, if you are going to quote go down that road, Louisville Trial Lawyer or whatever the deal is, do you create a separate site specifically just for Bing, for that SEO of Bing, if you will? Yeah,
you sure could. It ain't going to hurt anything.
Right.
If you're doing that, I would just make the assumption I'm living on borrowed time.
Yeah.
Now, whether that's a month or 10 years, who's to say? But you're definitely playing in the gray area, and it could work well for you. A lot of people do it. A lot of people crush, by doing what you're saying, basically. But I wouldn't trust on riding that thing off into the sunset just in case, So.
But you could conceivably have a site optimized for Google and then one for Bing per se.
For sure.
And that's a strategy depending on whether it's worth the time to do it, right?
Yep. And they may also rank in each other, right? So it's not like you can say this one, don't be in Google. I mean, you're not going to have your GMB, like you're saying, mimic that. But if you create a website and still submit it to Google, it can get ranked. It won't show up in the GMB like we're talking there.
Sure.
But yeah, that's if you've got the wherewithal and you got the means to do that, it's not a bad deal at all. So,
okay.
But again, just have that asterisk of you're in the gray zone, just to be clear. But so take advantage of that as well. And right there, those two things. If you're looking to get traction locally for local SEO, we haven't even talked about your website yet, right? But do those two things. If you haven't done them yet, that's where you want to start. Other areas, again, not quite to website yet, is social. And if we had this podcast, let's say a year ago or 18 months ago, 2 years ago, we wouldn't be talking like this. But now all of these, non-website factors are so important for local SEO because really, if I was kind of to wrap all this together, it's sending these signals to Google that you're a real business, you're a legitimate business, and that you're a local business. Back in the day, they just wanted to see that you again, had Louisville and Trial Lawyers on your website. You could kind of spam it or game it a little bit more. Now you need all these different signals, and the more the better, to show them that you're, again, legitimate and real. So we'll get to the actual website SEO stuff here in a second, but helping your SEO with some offsite is these social profiles. So if you don't have a Facebook page, a Twitter page, a LinkedIn page yet for your business, not just for you personally,
right.
But as your entity for your business, you're going to want to do that. And when you do these, you want to have, they call it the name, address, phone number, your NAP, to be the same on these, because that's how Google knows that's that same, trial lawyer, again, in this example, same address, same name, and same phone number. You don't even need to link these websites together. So Google's a lot more intelligent now, and Bing is following suit in the same process. So I just named kind of the big social profiles there, but really anything, whether it be Foursquare, anything that you're using, get on there. These are all free too, right? Which is important. And just have that consistency, name, address, phone number. Now, if you have a website You can link your website on all of these, and you absolutely should link your website on all these. But again, to your example earlier, Bob, is you don't even have to have a website to do all this that we're talking about so far, and you're going to get found and you're going to get some results. So take advantage of those.
Yep.
And I would say in the same vein for those, looking at my notes here, review sites like Yelp, Yellow Pages, CitySearch, those kind of the bigger ones nationally. And a lot of people are going to have, depending on where you're at locally, some kind of more boutique or local ones. Same thing there. If you can put up a profile and get listed in some kind of directory to get reviews and just have that name, address, phone number, that NAP, take advantage of those as well too. And again, if you got a website, pop your website in there. This is just more citations, more links, more, signals to Google that you're real. So
yeah, and what they're looking for, they're looking for proof, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's been so spammy over the last, up until, let's say, a year ago, it's been so spammy. What Google's saying, okay, now, local business person, prove that you're in fact a local business person. So we want to see the fact that you're linked to, let's say, the Chamber of Commerce, and we want to see that you're linked to the various social entities, and they need, the more proof you can provide, and we'll get more into that, but that's more holistically what Google's looking for is that prove it you're local, and prove it 8 different ways till Sunday. So if you were in a court of law, they want to know, okay, yeah, you're this is your address, this is your city, the whole 9 yards, and then be very consistent throughout.
That's the key part,
that, right?
Yep, using that same name, and everything else, and kind of like you're talking earlier, if you want to kind of get gamey and do something different for Bing, go for it. You have that different website, right, with your different name.
That's a strategy.
It is a strategy, sure. But don't do a different name in Yelp. Don't do a different name on Facebook. Right. Don't do a different name on your Google My Business. Have all that stuff be the same, like you're saying. That's Google's background check, right? That's like you're saying how they know you're legitimate. It all has to add up. Now, if you have some errors in there, they're not going to shut you down or anything, but you're just not going to get that full credit. It's not going to show up on your resume, so to speak. So do those. Again, everything there so far has been completely free, not even touching your website. You can not do these and still do some good stuff with your website, get some results. But if you're really going to try to build this out and do it the right way, invest some time, get all these things set up, get a file or a system somewhere to, keep all these links and logins somewhere, so you can update these pages. None of this is a set it and forget it situation. Not only does Google want to see, as Bob's saying, that you're legitimate and all this ties in, you got to be active as well, right?
Yeah.
So we talk about, like, if you're on Yelp, which not a big fan of Yelp, but we have to mention them just because they're on the first page of Google for so much stuff.
Sure.
You can't ignore it. You're going to want to get reviews on Yelp. You're going to want to get reviews on Facebook. You're going to want to get reviews on your Google My Business. First and foremost, Google My Business, right?
Oh, yeah.
If I had to put some kind of math formula to it, I'd say, get 1 or 2 reviews on the other engines for every 10 on Google My Business.
Yeah.
I would really weight it to the GMB.
Yeah, 10 to 1 is probably a pretty fair ratio.
Yeah, but you just want to make sure you show them that not only are you legitimate and set these things up, but you're active, and you're participating, and that's all going to help you just a ton. So, and last but not least, we should say is your website. So search engine optimization, really the core of it, is about your website and optimizing it to be found. And when we throw that kind of local prefix on there for local SEO, a lot of people ask me all the time, what the heck's the difference between local SEO and SEO? It's just local. It's focusing here on my town, my backyard, wherever my business is located. If we're in Minneapolis, as we are, we don't care if we show up in Albuquerque, or Houston or whatever. That's not what we're concerned with. We want to be local for people in Minneapolis. So all the tactics that really apply in general to SEO nationwide still apply to local SEO. You still want to optimize your pages, and we'll get into some of this real quick. But really, at the end of the day, it's making sure that you're just known as a true local actual business, whether you're a brick and mortar business or that service area business. It's all just proven that you're legitimate. So within your website, probably the number one thing I could tell everybody to do is to make sure that you have your Google My Business primary category dominant on your homepage, right? So if you're, a cell phone repair shop, I think the main category for that is mobile phone repair for Google My Business. You should make sure towards the top of your page in an H1 in an H1 tag, have the words mobile phone repair in there. Have that be part of your title tag. Get that in your description. And I would even have an image on the page that had that as a file name and as the alt tag for my image on the homepage. And try to get as much of that above the fold, right? Or on the first first shot of your screen when it pops up as possible, because you're sending those same signals to Google. Not only, hey, I'm a business, I'm real, I have all these citations. Now, here's what my business does. Here's what my website is all about. First things first, right? So that's like the number one thing you definitely want to make sure you're doing with your website. Carry that same logic to all your other categories for Google My Business. You're not going to want to mash all these on your homepage. And we have another episode that's talking specifically about using G&B categories to optimize your page. We'll put that in the show notes for everybody. So if you guys don't check out our show notes, we should say this too as a quick aside, intrix.com/show. All the episodes are on there as an archive. And then each episode is also linked to and has a show page. Check out the show notes for this one especially. There's going to be, as we're talking through this here, there's just going to be a ton of information on there. So make sure you guys check that out. We'll make it real easy for you. Couple other things I would say here, looking at my notes, put your address on there twice. If you're a place that has a physical address and you're okay with customers stopping by, you're going to want to have it down in the footer somewhere, and then somewhere kind of on like contact sidebar. There's usually some kind of information about contact us or whatever. But on your homepage especially, put your address twice. Doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't have to be dominant. Just have it on there twice.
Yeah. And I would just throw out there, here's what I mean. I don't know why you would hide your address. Mm-hmm. There could be a reason, but this is about converting.
Yep.
So you might as well have it above the fold where people can see, oh, they're on Main Street, or they're on blah, blah, blah street, or whatever the case is. Yep. I don't know that you'd ever really want to hide it.
Nope.
Unless it's maybe your personal home, or your home, and you just don't want people coming there, or whatever the case is.
Sure. Yeah. If you're some kind of consultant and something else working from home, sure. I could see that maybe. Yeah, sure. You're right. If that doesn't apply to you, and it shouldn't apply to most businesses, put it on there twice, and you're exactly right. You want it once above the fold, if possible, or very close to it. And then, like I said, once down at the footer. And that sounds kind of weird. You're not putting it there to hide it. But people expect to be able to scroll all the way down to the bottom of a page nowadays and get that contact information. So put it on there twice. And that's also for Google too. You're just really showing and emphasizing to them, like, this is me. This is where I'm at. Now, this is all about if you're single location. If you're multi-location, if you have multiple, branches and offices, different strategy. Tune into a future episode. We're going to talk about that. This is all about single location stuff here that we're talking right there. So put your address on there twice on your homepage. Make sure it's on every other page at least once.
Yeah.
And then if you have a contact us page, follow the same guidelines for the homepage. Get it on there twice. And one of those is going to be huge because like the main reason for the contact page is all your contact info. And then it's probably just in your footer again anyways, if you're doing it like that. Another thing is making your phone number huge on your page. And I know we would say not only just go above the fold, but like literally the first thing on your website should be this just giant ass huge phone number, contrasting color.
Right.
If there's one thing you want to make it easier for people to do, it's contact you. And even though everybody's gravitating towards messaging and text, and everything else, email, leads are still dominated by phone calls.
Yeah.
So if you're going to bury your phone number, much like you bury your address or something, that's just crazy.
Yeah.
That's just crazy.
I don't know, style points or whatever you want to call it. Some people are like, oh, it just doesn't look good up there. It looks gaudy. And it's like, Jesse's always got to pull me back because I'm like, I want phone numbers in red and I want them bigger. And you think of it as real estate, right?
Yeah.
It needs to pop. And obviously this is for mobile. We're all at that point where we're used to putting our thumb on the phone number and dialing, and it's got to have that link to dial, right? Yep. And those are some must-haves for services where people are like, hey, my phone is broke, bam, I'm gonna hit this number and call, or whatever the case is, or my car is broken, or whatever. And that's just common sense. So some bright, obnoxious color, don't have it stylized, fading into the back where nobody can see it.
Yep.
You want the person with the worst eyes to be able to see that number, hit it, and boom, convert. Yep. And it's about conversion. So you want to get to the top, and then once you're at the top, you want to be able to get conversion. So
now, we have some clients that'll, like the look and the style is just super, super important, right? So some tricks that you can do, kind of, again, with working with Bob's goals here too, which are extremely important. I agree completely. Like you said, starting out, years ago, it definitely was on one end of the spectrum. Much more now, you got to blast people with this thing and let them know. And to my point on that is, with websites now, you can kind of get a lot trickier with some of the animation and the effects. So when somebody lands on your page, that phone number needs to just pop right at them. Now, if you're on a phone and they kind of scroll up or scroll down, I guess depending on your perspective, that phone number can kind of disappear. If you want it to stay there the whole time. But sometimes if it's a huge phone number like we're talking about, it's taken up like the top 20% of that page or something or more. That might be a little too much to just stay on the page, but they can scroll it away. The important part there is they knew it was there.
Yeah.
They can quickly get back to it. It was so big, so obnoxious. I don't mean that in a negative way, but more of like in a standout, can't miss it way. They'll easily go back to it. They don't have to look for it. They don't have to think about where that phone number was. And you can even do the same thing on a traditional website on the desktop mode, if you will. I would encourage everybody on mobile to, maybe take that route. I shouldn't say that. If you can not do it, don't. Keep it there the whole time, staring you in the face. But on desktop, try to keep it there. Don't make it kind of fade away on the desktop. You can maybe make it kind of get a little bit smaller, and push up to the corner a little bit more. But still, if you look at that page on desktop mode, especially, or even tablet mode, that phone number should be just in your face.
Yeah.
You should never have to look for it. On your phone, the big distinction there, what I mean is, like you're saying, you can click the call on your phone. You're not going to do that on your desktop. So if you're a phone, you just, thumb up, thumb down a little bit, boom, click the number and I'm calling. It's like 2 seconds. If you're on desktop, you're kind of scrolling around, you're kind of navigating with your eyes, navigating with your mouse, make that sucker pop, make it right there the whole time. And that would, again, say, put it down in the footer as well, too. The standard convention, everybody wants to scroll down and have all that kind of summary information at the very bottom. Even if they miss it up the top of the page, that's fine. Again, don't make the customer think, especially when they're trying to contact you. When you do all this work, get all these citations, all these local listings, get our website together, everything else, just to get ranked, just to get them to our page, you don't want to stop when they're trying to contact you. That's like where the money, where the rubber meets the road, right? So do all that. And then I just actually got one more thing here quick is links. So we talk about people, there's a lot of buzzwords like local citations, right? Or local links, things like that. A lot of the stuff we just covered on the front side there with the social and some of those directories and review portals are going to provide you with a lot of those citations and links. Something that's overlooked a lot for the local businesses is the local clubs, associations, charities, Chamber of Commerce. You kind of mentioned that. Find out what your passions are. You have a business, so you're a business owner or looking to have an impact in your community. I mean, you're part of it, right? You're local. So what do you want to get behind? Do you want to sponsor the local T-ball club or T-ball team, computer science club, robotics, whatever it is, or just, put up a ad at the laundromat or something. I don't know, but get out there in the community and wherever these organizations have a website, try to get a link from them. Google's going to see that. They say, oh, all these, Minneapolis clubs and institutions are linking back, to these guys. Well, they're obviously in Minneapolis. I mean, Google's intelligent. Their algorithm, it's proven out that you're part of the community. You're local. You're in this area. Where would you go? Who should you pick? Search for some things around town. If these organizations and clubs allow you to do this linking, then their websites should be exposed and found. Don't search for your own product or business. Just search for things, in your town. Seek those out. If you don't know where to start, you don't want to support anybody, you just want to be kind of a Grinch about everything, hey, great. If you want to do it purely for strategic reasons, find out which of these directories and which of these clubs and organizations are already ranking locally. Go talk to them and say, hey, if I throw $100 at you, can I sponsor the local robotics team at my school, and can you put a link back to my website on that directory page you got? Okay, cool, thanks. It's going to be real cheap advertising for you. You're not looking to actually get your name on the back of that T-ball jersey. That's not the goal. Right. You're not going to bring customers in because they saw your logo with 18 other logos or something else on the back of a T-ball jersey. What you're looking for is that link from that association for that local proof, like you just said, that local association tracking back to you. So
that kind of brings up a good point for local fundraisers. A little bit off topic, but if you were, part of the whatever city, some kind of fundraiser for something, that would be a great lead-in to various businesses and say, hey, you know what you need? You need a link to our site. This is why.
Sure.
You need social proof, or not social proof, but local proof.
Yeah. Here's some value that we bring. Yep.
Yeah. And that might be a good fundraiser angle. Yeah. So all you fundraiser folks out there, there's a little pro tip maybe.
Yep. No, absolutely right. That's value. That's kind of helping you, give reasons. And, a lot of people sometimes, and we have a tough time too, because we host this show. We try to kind of give back to all you people out there to help you out. Part of what we do is we do this for a business too, right? So we'll have discussions with clients a lot of times, like, oh, that's a little much to invest, right? Or that bill may be a little too steep. But people will go drop $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 on a billboard.
Oh, sure.
People are driving by, getting it for 3 seconds at a time. But yet they're maybe hesitant about spending a couple $100, let alone a couple $1,000 on a website that's up 24/7. You can push people to, and it's just so dynamic. Spending $100, like you're saying, maybe for a local fundraiser or some local organization, that might seem like a lot to just get a link from your local school pointing back to you.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, say, okay, if I throw $100 at this and that website helps Google know that I'm here and I'm local and it's going to help my rankings, that's like stupid money.
Well, I know, but
I
mean, the typical small business, I mean, and my biggest challenge, the whole history of my company is dealing with my ego, right?
Sure.
So a billboard feeds to my ego.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, hey, tell all my buddies,
right.
Yeah, I got a billboard. But obviously, you're better off spent. I personally don't know anybody, not to pick on billboards, but I don't know anybody that's had success with a billboard.
Right.
I mean, real success, other than feeding their ego.
Or if you're going to, though, I think there's a space for it, but it's like when you have 17 billboards around town. You know, it's like this massive budget, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, but that's a whole different level. That's not where local businesses aren't going to do that. That's,
most of us don't have that extra $50K a month floating around for 17 billboards. So.
And then you got to, give it like 90 days, right? To sink in, so to see if it even works. So it's a scale that a lot of us aren't operating on, and just pales in comparison to this kind of stuff. And, I'll also contrast this kind of stuff too, drop $100 here and there for these links. They're super valuable, again, as compared to throwing an ad in your local newspaper. I live in a very small town, a suburb of the Twin Cities here, and we have a great local newspaper. I know most of the people in our town actually buy it and go through it just because it's like hyper local, right? There's like 4,000 people in my town. It costs like $100 and some to get in that thing. It's just, you know what I mean? Like to put an ad in there. I mean, come on. What's the reach of that? You know, but yet you get hesitant to spend
for a few days or a week or whatever.
But you'd be hesitant to maybe, sponsor the local team and to kind of get that link. So not to harp on it. I think it's a super cool idea. Real easy way to get local backlinks to kind of get that credibility and get that juice back to your website and prove to Google that you're local. And again, at the same time, you're supporting your local community too. People are going to like that. This isn't an SEO thing. It's a brand thing at that point too. And that's a great double dip. So kind of my last tidbit on there. I don't know if you have anything else you want to add to the pot here.
Nope, that's it.
Okay. So that's pretty much it. Again, for this episode, particularly check the show notes. We're going to be a big kind of roundup of a lot of links in there to help you out. And as always, if you have a topic you want us to cover on that same intrix.com/show, we'd love to have your feedback. If there's questions you have, whether it be to this episode, other things you want us to talk about, ideas or corrections, if you think Macs are still way more secure than PCs even today, regardless of the population, whatever it is, let us know. We love to hear from everybody and get the feedback just to know that we're reaching our audience and you guys are liking what we're doing. So with that, we're going to get into our weekly review of the week. And this week here, we got a great 5-star review from Dina. And I'm going to butcher your last name, Dina. It's Catilo. And Dina says, thanks so much for this podcast. You're making SEO easy for everyone to understand. Your episodes are short and sweet. Make it easy for me to listen to them when I'm washing the dishes or my short commute. Exactly what we want. Not make it overwhelming. Make it stuff where you can kind of take some notes, go back, take action on it, come back next week, maybe learn a new tip there. So learn a new tip there. So thanks for the great 5-star review. Everybody else, love to hear from you too. Intrix.com/iTunes. You can leave us a review anywhere. You're going to find other links on our show page and leave us reviews. We always pump iTunes because it's like the biggest reach that we have for the audience. That's where everybody goes. That's where you all subscribe. So if you haven't yet, check us out, subscribe on iTunes, leave us a review on iTunes, go to intrix.com/iTunes, and we'd love to hear from you. All right, that's about it for this week, guys. Take care, everyone. Have a good week.
Have a good week.